All right, listen up. We're breaking down 8 catastrophic errors preppers make when SHTF, and let me tell you, these aren't minor slip-ups. These are the kinds of mistakes that will turn your hard work, your supplies, and your so-called preparedness into nothing but wasted effort, and possibly even your death sentence. Too many preppers out there are cruising along with a false sense of security, thinking their canned beans and survival knives are enough to see them through. Let me be brutally clear, most preppers are not as prepared as they think they are. When SHTF, it's not going to be forgiving. There are no second chances, no oops, I forgot, and definitely no time to learn from your mistakes on the fly. Whether it's a natural disaster, economic collapse, or societal breakdown, your ability to survive hinges on your foresight and execution. A FEMA study found that nearly 60% of Americans don't have a basic emergency plan. And even among preppers, critical gaps in knowledge, planning, and resources are rampant. If you're guilty of any of the errors on this list, you're setting yourself up to fail before the crisis even starts. This isn't about being nice or patting you on the back for trying. This is about saving your life. If you're making these errors, you need to fix them now, because once SHTF, it'll be too late. We're not here to coddle you. We're here to hold a mirror to your face and show you what you need to change. Ready to face the truth? Let's get into the 8 errors preppers make when SHTF and how to make damn sure you're not one of them. Number 1, you've got a fantasy mindset, not a survival mindset. Too many preppers are guilty of living in their own post-apocalyptic Hollywood movie. They stockpile crossbows because they look cool, obsess over Mad Max-style scenarios, and think they'll be the lone wolf hero saving the day. Newsflash, real crises don't follow your script. You're not Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead, and survival doesn't look like an action movie. Thinking you'll somehow thrive without a proper plan just because you've watched a few YouTube videos or binged survival TV shows is delusional. Emergencies require cold, hard practicality, not fantasy daydreams. Instead of focusing on weapons that look intimidating, focus on tools that are actually practical. Think multi-tools, sturdy work gloves, and basic carpentry kits. Don't just dream about outsmarting enemies. Practice strategies to avoid them entirely. It's not glamorous, but laying low and blending in often beats charging into danger. Ditch the fantasy mindset and adopt the disciplined mindset of someone who's serious about survival, not someone cosplaying it. Number 2, overlooking sanitation and hygiene. Here's the brutal truth. Poor sanitation can kill you faster than starvation in a survival scenario. Preppers stockpile ammo by the thousands, but do they think about where and how they'll relieve themselves when the plumbing stops working? Nope. A pile of canned beans won't do you much good when you're doubled over from dysentery because you didn't bother to plan for proper waste management. Disease outbreaks in crowded or unsanitary conditions have historically killed more people than bullets ever could. Without proper hygiene supplies, soap, bleach, water filters, feminine products, and even makeshift toilets, your carefully built stash will become a death trap. And let's not even talk about running out of toilet paper. Stockpile more than you think you'll need. Hand sanitizer, baby wipes, portable camp toilets, and even garbage bags for containment. If you've overlooked this crucial aspect, you're setting yourself up for an embarrassing and deadly downfall. Don't glamorize the survival struggle. It stinks literally if you fail to plan for it. Number 3, completely ignoring financial preparedness. Here's a hard pill to swallow. Most preppers stockpile gear and food, but leave their finances in utter chaos. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and maxing out credit cards to buy that $4,000 tactical vest or a $2,500 generator, you're digging yourself a hole you might not climb out of. What happens if the crisis you face isn't an EMP or a hurricane, but a layoff, a medical emergency, or the next market crash? Prepping isn't just about hoarding supplies. It's about creating stability in every aspect of your life, including your bank account. Statistics show that over 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense. That means most so-called preppers are one unexpected car repair away from being wiped out. If you're not setting aside cash in a secure, accessible location, and I'm not talking about leaving a stack of 20s in your bedside table, you're not prepared. You're playing pretend. Build an emergency fund with at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Diversify your savings. Keep some cash on hand for immediate use, but also consider investing in precious metals or inflation-resistant assets. Silver and gold coins, for instance, hold intrinsic value and can be traded even if the dollar collapses. If you're carrying high-interest credit card balances, you're basically sabotaging yourself before the crisis even begins. Do the math. A $10,000 credit card balance at a 20% APR costs you $2,000 a year in interest. That's money you could have used to buy essential supplies, pay down your mortgage, or stockpile long-term food. If you're serious about prepping, get your financial house in order now, because when SHTF creditors won't care about your bug-out bag, they'll still come knocking. Number 4, neglecting community and networking. Let's get real. If you think you're going to lone wolf it through a real crisis, you're delusional. One of the biggest mistakes preppers make is isolating themselves, either out of paranoia or arrogance. Sure, it's good to keep your preps under wraps. We talked about not running your mouth earlier. But completely shutting out your neighbors or like-minded individuals is a massive error. Studies on disaster recovery, like those after Hurricane Katrina, have shown that communities that work together recover faster and more effectively than individuals going it alone. Think about it. Can you defend your property 24/7, grow your food, purify your water, provide medical care, and maintain your mental health all by yourself? No, you can't. Even the most hardcore preppers will hit their limit. Building a network of trusted people, whether it's family, neighbors, or a prepping community, gives you access to diverse skills and resources. A group can share the workload, improve security, and offer emotional support. Bartering is going to be the backbone of survival when money becomes useless. If you haven't built relationships now, you won't have anyone to trade with later. Want someone to fix your generator? Better hope you've got something to offer in return and that they don't see you as just another desperate fool. Start fostering connections now. Number 5, failing to rotate and maintain supplies. Look, I get it. Stockpiling feels great. You see shelves packed with canned goods, water jugs, and medical supplies, and you think, I'm set. But here's the ugly truth. If you're not rotating and maintaining those supplies, you might as well be stacking up cardboard boxes for all the good it'll do you. Nearly 30% of food stored for emergencies ends up spoiled or expired because people don't follow simple inventory practices. That's not just wasteful, it's downright dangerous. Imagine cracking open a can of chili in year 5 of your bunker life, only to find a bloated, spoiled can that smells like death. Now, you're not just hungry. You're dealing with food poisoning during a crisis. Good luck with that. It's not just food either. Batteries corrode, medical supplies degrade, and water stored improperly can leach chemicals from its containers. Are you regularly testing your water supplies for potability? Are you checking the expiration dates on your medicines, especially prescription drugs? I bet most of you aren't, and that's a major fail. Americans waste an estimated $161 billion worth of food every year. If even a fraction of that comes from your prepper stash, you're throwing away hundreds, if not thousands of dollars annually. Proper rotation isn't rocket science, it's a simple first-in, first-out system. New supplies go to the back, old supplies get used first. Keep a spreadsheet or inventory app to track expiration dates. Spend $20 on a label maker if you have to. It's cheaper than replacing $500 worth of spoiled food. And don't even get me started on neglected tools. That fancy $1,000 generator? It's useless if the oil hasn't been changed or the fuel's gone bad. Routine maintenance isn't glamorous, but it's non-negotiable. Skip it and you're prepping for failure, not survival. Number 6, underestimating water needs and storage. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but you'll be dead in 3 days without water. Yet, time and time again, preppers grossly underestimate their water needs. You think that 50-gallon barrel in your garage is going to cut it. Guess again. The average person needs a minimum of 1 gallon of water per day just for drinking. Double that if you're in a hot climate or doing physical labor. Add in water for cooking, hygiene, and sanitation, and you're looking at closer to 3 to 5 gallons per person per day. For a family of 4, that's at least 120 gallons per week. Do you even have that stored? I'll wait. But storage is just the beginning. Water goes bad. If you're not treating it properly, microbial growth or chemical contamination will turn your life-saving supply into a death sentence. Are you using food-grade containers? Are you treating it with unscented bleach or water purification tablets? Did you even know that was a thing? What about redundancy? Relying on one water source is asking for disaster. If that rain barrel cracks or your well pump fails, what's your plan B? A study by the Red Cross found that only 12% of Americans have a sufficient water supply for emergencies. If you're in the other 88%, congratulations, you're gambling with your life, and here's where it hits your wallet. Bottled water might seem cheap at 10 cents a gallon, but buying enough for long-term storage adds up fast. Investing in a solid water filtration system like a Berkey or LifeStraw family unit is a smarter move. Yeah, it might cost you $300 up front, but compare that to the $1,000 you'll spend on disposable water bottles over a year. Not to mention, filtration systems give you flexibility. Found a muddy pond, a Berkey will turn it into drinkable water. Without it, enjoy your dysentery. Water isn't optional, folks. Get serious about your storage and treatment methods now, or you won't have the luxury of regret later. Number 7. Neglecting medical knowledge and supplies. You're not invincible, and your basic first aid kit isn't going to cut it when the nearest hospital is a distant memory. Most preppers fail miserably when it comes to medical preparedness. Sure, you might have a box of Band-Aids and some ibuprofen tucked away, but what about antibiotics? Suture kits? Tourniquets? Let me tell you, if you can't handle a compound fracture, a deep laceration, or even a severe infection, your prepping game is as good as useless. Around 30% of fatalities in disaster scenarios stem from preventable causes like untreated infections or improper wound care. Those numbers don't lie. And neither will the pain when you're sitting there helpless. How about your skills? Do you know how to stop arterial bleeding? Can you identify the signs of sepsis? Most of you are banking on the hope that someone else, maybe a neighbor or a paramedic, will show up to save the day. Let me clue you in, they're not coming. If you're not already taking courses in basic first aid, CPR, and wilderness medicine, you're already behind. The American Red Cross charges around $120 for a full first aid certification course. That's less than the cost of a single emergency room visit, yet so many of you won't spend the money because you'd rather buy another shiny gadget. Financially speaking, investing in medical supplies now saves lives and cash later. A $50 suture kit today can save you from a $15,000 ER bill, or worse, death. Stock up on over-the-counter meds like antihistamines, pain relievers, and antidiarrheals, but also consider prescription alternatives. Veterinary antibiotics like fish antibiotics, amoxicillin, doxycycline, can be lifesavers in a pinch. And yes, they're the same active ingredients as human-grade meds. Is it ideal? No. But in a crisis, it's about survival, not perfection. Medical prepping isn't optional, it's essential, and ignoring it is signing your own death warrant. Number 8, not preparing for psychological and emotional resilience. Prepping isn't just about surviving physically. If you think you're going to cruise through a months-long disaster with zero mental strain, you're living in fantasyland. Studies show that nearly 40% of disaster survivors suffer from PTSD or severe depression. Now imagine dealing with that while managing a family, rationing food, and fending off potential threats. If you're not mentally prepared for the sheer grind of survival, you're a liability to yourself and everyone around you. What's your plan when boredom, fear, and isolation hit? Have you considered the psychological toll of watching your world crumble around you? Because if all you've got is a stockpile of beans and ammo, you're missing a critical piece of the puzzle. Humans are social creatures. We need interaction, stimulation, and purpose to function. Without it, morale tanks, decision-making suffers, and survival becomes infinitely harder. Financially, it's cheap to prepare for this. A deck of cards costs $5, a chess set maybe $20. But what about keeping a journal? Writing supplies are practically free and can be a crucial outlet for stress. Don't forget about books, survival manuals, fiction, or even lighthearted reads. Spend $100 on a Kindle and load it up with hundreds of ebooks before storing it in a Faraday cage. That's your mental lifeline when everything else feels hopeless. Plan for structured routines. Create a daily schedule that includes physical activity, chores, learning new skills, and relaxation time. A structured day gives you purpose and reduces the mental fatigue that comes with endless uncertainty. Let's not sugarcoat it. If your mind breaks, your body will follow. Mental preparedness is the backbone of survival, and ignoring it isn't just careless, it's catastrophic. Get serious, or get ready to crack under pressure. Thank you for watching.